Hey fellow ServiceNow devotees, get ready to embark on a journey through the fascinating realm of ServiceNow with none other than the service ducks themselves. I'm James Downs.
And I'm Russ Shear. Whether you're new to ServiceNow, pre-Aspen veteran, or just a curious soul, we're here to bring you ServiceNow curiosities, exhilarating interviews, and don't forget the infamous A to Z game.
But mostly, it's about the random ramblings of two middle-aged guys with a funny story or to tell, right?
Yeah, true. The ducks are ready, the mics are on, and we can't wait to have you join us. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of the Service Ducks podcast. I am Russ Shear, one of your co-hosts. I'm joined, as always, with James Downs. But today is a little bit different. We have none other than Justin Loftas.
That's staying in the edit.
That's a good start, isn't it?
It's staying in the edit.
You should get him to try and pronounce McManaman.
I struggle with Lauren's name, but Justin Loftas is quite easy, so I'm going with that. Justin Loftas, Technical Director, UP3, where we're going to talk about all kind of random stuff. To be honest with you, actually, Justin, right? James and I wrote some notes, and we've discussed, haven't we, kind of what topics should we talk about, and we just decided to kind of just ditch it all.
Yeah. Which is kind of how I expected it to be fair.
We thought we could talk about different topics, which I'm sure we'll cover, but we may as well just talk about random stuff.
Chew the fat.
Yeah, and we're going to get on. We are going to go through James's silly question, which I do have a cool jingle for now, actually. And we're going to go through the alphabet challenge as well at the end. So we'll see how Justin fares up there as well. But this one is going to be a bit different because, again, like I say, we have structure, but we kind of all know each other. And I speak to you quite a lot.
Yeah.
James probably doesn't. So one of the and I'm just going to get onto this straight away. One of the fond memories I have of us all working together, right, was when we used to work at a certain partner. We had these monthly meetings, right, tech meetups, and we'd have collaboration sessions. We'd all have technical people from around the country, and we'd just talk about what we're working on. And the main question everyone always used to ask me every single time was, "What are you working on?" So I guess I'll go back to you, Justin. What are you working on? What's new?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be on the show. I've waited a long time for this invite, and
I know, it's been a long time.
It's about time.
You've been top of the list for a long time. Yeah.
No, I've loved listening to it, and I think it's the fact that it's the easy style and just the general kind of chit chat and banter that make it very kind of personable and easy to listen to. You know, I think that's the main thing. You just let whatever comes out comes out. But in terms of what I've been working on, the GenAI stuff is preparing for that, really, making sure that as an organisation we're set up to help customers take advantage of the AI solutions that are coming.
Yeah,
but a lot of it
is
also
managed to get a workable solution of it yet, like a demo environment of
no,
GenAI.
Same as everyone else, James.
I think, for a long time.
Yeah, unless you're on the list, you're not kind of coming in at the moment. But but I think on the grapevine, I think the 29th is when
29th,
is when it's going to the GenAI controller is going to be available. But I think some of the things is though, and they talk about this a lot. There has been AI solutions on the platform for 6 or 7 years now, and customers are not even using some of those. So it's how do you let them know that you've got AI solutions already that you should look at adopting, and how do you get them to adopt those solutions? What are the pitfalls? What are the appropriate things? Because you know what it's like. Look at the shiny new things. Let's turn it on. It reminds me of I don't know if you know about the is it Marketunist or something like that? A guy who kind of does like sort of comedy kind of sketches And he said, there's one way he says, let's do digital transformation. And everyone goes, yeah, let's do digital transformation. And it's like, well, okay, well, what is it? I don't know, but we've just got to do it.
Yeah.
And it seems
tick the box.
Let's do GenAI. Yeah. Well, yeah, but what is it? What will it do for me? How will it work? So yeah, that's taken. That's been a focus for me at the moment.
Yeah, so I've got I've managed to bag myself tickets to the CreatorCon in London. Right? Don't ask me how. I've had to pay £99 of my own hard-earned cash. But I have, and I'm gone on the advanced developer course because I fancied a challenge, and that is all. I think the 3 kind of labs / things I'll be doing is all AI based. So it's all kind of we all know hot topic. So I'll be expecting to learn a bit from that, and I guess when we have catch ups, I can tell you what it's all about.
Absolutely, yeah.
What were you feeling about GenAI coming into it, Justin? When it was kind of announced, and were you kind of on? There was kind of like two sides of the fence, really. There was people who were like so for it and so excited by it, like, it's going to be the new thing. It's going to be the new thing for ServiceNow. It's going to be, the best thing since sliced bread. Or were you on the side of
sliced bread?
Well,
that technical feature in service.
Yeah. It's just going to be a fad. How many people actually use things like predictive intelligence today, or anything else, machine learning? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it something that is just going to slowly become some part of it? Or
yeah, it's funny because I think for most people, you either there'll be some bits where you are really pro, and there's some bits where whether you go between optimism and pessimism, depending on kind of your mood, and I think on your experiences that you have. Because some things, we've all worked with ServiceNow quite a long time. We know typically how ServiceNow introduces new features. There'll be a big song and dance, and there'll be a bit of a selling of the dream and things like that. And then us on the ground actually delivering the solutions, we've then got to tailor that with the expectations of and what is truly possible. I think So I think it's not going to go away. It's here, and I think it's like anything. I think you've just got to look at it and go, well, great, but let me also have my realistic head on that says, well, how is this gonna work? Because I was quite quickly, and I was surprised, but I was quite quickly within there was loads of people talking about ChatGPT and all the capabilities, but I was quite quickly thinking, well, it's so confidently incorrect. What about sharing proprietary code? And suddenly it's out there, and the privacy concerns and things like that, and you sort of hear these people who you respect, within those areas, and you sort of go, well, you've got to think about that kind of stuff, And I think it wasn't far after. I think Microsoft kind of stopped all their engineers using it because someone had been feeding it kind of proprietary code that they were working on, so they realised what they were doing and sharing that with pretty much anybody, and they sort of said, right, you've got to stop that. So I think you, like anything, you want to get carried away, but then you've got to then think about the real life scenario.
So I definitely see you as like this kind of like pro coder guy, who is so comfortable of just getting into something and writing code and developing something from scratch. Whereas obviously to get more people involved, and especially in like the citizen developer space, and just general spurn of new stuff quickly, obviously the likes of the text to code and things like that is going to be really, really useful, but equally as dangerous, perhaps.
I
think we've definitely seen a few people recently say, well, what if that's not best practice? People just accepting it as best practice.
I did do a blog article not long after it released, and kind of said exactly that. It's another source of information that you should absolutely use, but you've just got to be careful you've got to put your own guardrails in place to sort of say, well, what am I giving it? If it's just sort of if it's got to be better than starting from scratch. It's got to be more productive than saying, right, here's a blank sheet of paper. Right, I'm not quite sure. So for people who are new to that stuff, I have no idea where to start. Get me going, but don't expect it to write you the entire thing,
Yeah.
and I think,
Script included.
I mean, I know they're talking at some point around text to app. So text to app will come in ServiceNow. So
Yeah.
you'll be able to just say,
Yeah,
Right.
I want an
Yeah.
application to do this, and it will go and build all the things. But it's only going to give you a
Oh,
start.
don't go there.
What is this?
Scary.
So
Scary.
I don't think we'll be out of jobs yet, put it that way.
So this is kind of where we're at now, and it'll be interesting to see how this pans out over the next few months and years and how it evolves. So let's go. Let me just go backwards, right? Because you mentioned, James. Did you just say? In fact, actually, I've got 3 call outs to do. Right? I don't know what this podcast is all over the place. Right? There's one. Number one, and I should have said this at the start. It is an honour to have you on because you must have heard previous episode we did where we talked about inspirational characters. So I'm going to embarrass you a slightly bit and say that were you number 3? They weren't in order, but let's say you were number 3.
We can pick that
for
up
my
separately.
Inspirational.
This is
Not enough
your
cash
life.
handed over in
Hey,
a brown
this is your
envelope.
life. But you were an inspirational character, and you've certainly imparted some of your traits that you've got with me in terms of the passion for the platform. And I know James said you were kind of near the list, but didn't quite make it. So
Yeah.
we can beat him up later.
It's forgiven.
That was call out number 1. That was call out number 1. I do want to say it is an honour to have you on. Number 2, I think actually. Am I right in saying that we owe Justin the kudos for the name ServiceNow? Do you reckon?
I think we absolutely do.
Yeah. So
I think we need to reflect back to that
we
original moment
I'll respond
of
to some of these
hitting the eye with a duck.
No, we do actually, because I know. Again, if we talk back to our meetings that we used to, I don't want to call them meetings. Our collaboration sessions. Can we say piss ups? I can, because I can dub it out.
Yes, you can.
Piss ups in the hotel. But from that, one of the fond memories I have is around the sessions that you would do in terms of your technical sessions. Now, James just called you a pro coder, right? I don't think you'd call yourself a pro coder, or you might now, but I don't think you would have done. And with your sessions that you used to do, one of the sessions that you definitely did was around talk to the duck.
Mm-hmm.
So, question for you: is that something you still do? Do you have a duck to hand? In fact, I've got a crocodile. That's a bit weird.
Hey, look at that on hand.
So what's the whole deal around talk to the duck?
So for one, I did. So in response, first, I did listen to that episode, and I really do appreciate it when people say such kind things about you, because it means that you've done the right thing. And I think that's what we all do. I mean, I know you both pretty well, and I think that is fundamentally things that I admire about people most. They just try and do the right thing. They might not always they might always get it right, but they try. Their intentions are good. That's a very human trait that I respect in people who show it. The talk to the duck is from a book called The Pragmatic Programmer. That's where it originated from. It's certainly not my thing. It was something that, and I've got to say, it was someone from Fruition who kind of mentioned it to me, and I went and looked at the book, and I read that element, and of course the thing is, when you go, I'm going to try that, and you try it, you kind of realize, well, it does work. It really does work. Do I do it all the time? Absolutely not, because I still have conversations with. I've definitely done it with you. I've done it with Callum. Lots of people in our organisation. I'll ring them up and I will just go, I've just answered my own question. So I need to do more practice of what I preach, but I still do it, and I find I've done it more in terms of as I've taken more, I guess, leadership roles in other things where I've gone, right, this email that I've just written, that I might have written in the heat of the moment, let me just calm down and let me just talk. Would my duck appreciate the email? What outcomes am I expecting from sending this email when I'm having a bit of a vent? It's probably stopped me causing, just moving on. At the end of the day, you had it, you play it in your head, you're frustrated, whatever. You let that go and you move on, and it's a lot better experience for everybody because you can send something, and the outcomes it can cause can then have a long-lasting ripple effects that you go, wow, so what? Why did I do that?
That's very true. I might start. So I've got a couple of ducks here. I might start leaving them strategically around the house in the hope that my wife may talk to one before she starts having a go at me about loading the dishwasher in the wrong way. It doesn't go there. It's this way.
Yeah.
Would my duck appreciate this moan?
Well, yeah. So it's still, it's still. I don't do it. I should carry on doing it more, but I still do it. I still do it. I'm absolutely been sold on the concept, and I think a lot of people who've done it have found the same.
Absolutely, and hence why James is now dressed in a lovely colour of yellow with the ServiceNow logo. It is your fault.
Full brand.
We appreciate that.
Big bird.
But going back even further to our monthly piss ups, again, duck noise in there. How did you land on your ServiceNow gig? How did you get into ServiceNow? What were you doing before? What was the journey look like? We always like to talk about journeys.
So this one, it's a familiar one, I guess. So I started on the service desk. So that's really I was originally a programmer. So I did some self-training and some night school training to become a programmer in Visual Basic, which is again probably not the most complex language. It's pretty high level, but I just didn't want to be doing the job I was doing. I got made redundant from that because it was around the .com boom, and so I started. My next job was working on the service desk because that was the only kind of IT type job I could get. But so I worked for a.
So were you?
Go on.
Were you doing your programming course before you learned the service desk then, or at the same time?
So before, I was a programmer for about 3 years, working for a very very small IT company, about 6 people. I say this because one of the reasons why I was brought on board was because they just won a contract to do the national population census of Ghana. So I went out, worked out in Ghana for a couple of weeks, and we were using kind of intelligent character recognition and databases to capture all the feedback. There was like 20,000 forms that were filled out, and people go out in the field, fill these forms out, and then we'd go back and we'd scan all the data, use ICR to capture where the marks were all filled in and stuff like that. So that was kind of where, and it was all based on a piece of software that had a Visual Basic front end element to it. So exposing the data visually was then all done via Visual Basic. So that's how I got involved in that. I've got to say the boss spent all the money. So they spent all the money and kind of left the company kind of bankrupt. So that was where the redundancy kicked in. So that was quite nice. Yeah. But so yeah, then I just wanted to carry on the journey in IT, but year 1999, 2000, working in Derby, which is where I'm from, there's not too many IT companies that are floating around. So I got offered 2 jobs in the same week. I've been looking for jobs for about 6 months, and then I got interviewed twice. They both offered me the role. One was with a major retailer, one was with a major high street bank, and I chose the major retailer, and I started working on their service desk. Because I think of my kind of true technology background, like service desk, it attracts all sorts of people who work on service desks. Some people see it as a very short term. I just want a bit of cash for a short period of time. Some people see it as a stepping stone. So because of my IT background, I was able to pick things up quite quickly. So within 6 or 7 months of being on first line, I got promoted to second line. I did that for about a year, and then got promoted to third line support. And at that point, there was no real avenue out. And then one of the service desk manager left, and that kind of left a hole. So someone got promoted to service desk manager, which meant there was a team lead role. And I'll be honest, I never really thought about doing leadership stuff. It was more the people who were interviewing, I thought, I don't want them to be my manager. I'm going to put my hat in the ring. And then
I got a question. So, so are you finding that with people applying to work for where you are at the moment, do they tend to have the same sort of journey? Because we found that obviously it's quite a common journey that we're used to in terms of service desk. You work your way up, you work your way through, you build up your customer skills and empathy and everything else, kind of core skills. Whereas are you seeing a lot of the time now it's almost straight out of university going into one of these kind of top jobs, kind of almost bypassing that kind of learning that you do on a really busy service desk? Or is that still a thing? Is that still an avenue?
The path changed is what you're getting at. Have the path changed? So...
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is this just is it evolved, or I don't know?
I think it definitely has. It has, because you think about some of those kind of people coming out of university with computer science degrees and things like that, and therefore their raw skills, their raw technical skills are pretty advanced. They can all write, they can all write JavaScript, they can all do CSS, they can all build websites, all that kind of stuff. So technically they are extremely capable, where of course, but they're missing the bits that I think we were taught around understanding process, dealing with difficult customers, understanding, how to solve problems, real life problems, not kind of theoretical. Problems. And I think that's the bit where we benefited. So where we've probably come later to the technical side, we've got some really good, you talk about in the ServiceNow world, developers and technical consultants and things like that, and are they the same and are different? And I think they are different, but technical consultant is technically you can consult, and consultancy is very, very powerful. Being able to tell somebody that's not the right way to do something, this is a better way to do something, is really, really powerful. And I think some of that is through those experiences and those skills that you get by doing those kind of roles.
And is it okay to be one or the other? Do you know what I mean? Can you come into the ServiceNow game and be a developer and be happy being a developer? Or is the advice that you should really try and aim to build up those other kind of core skills to be a proper consultant, as opposed to a developer where you can just sit in your own bubble, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, it is a good question, but we can see where the platform is going. Right, the platform is going to the platform. You think about when we started on the platform, you had to build half the solutions yourself because they didn't exist. The capability wasn't there. So you ended up building what would be now classed as customization, because the capability didn't exist in the platform. You had no other option. But now the platform is so mature, it's kind of, that's why you see a lot of organizations looking at the re-implementation side, because what they built sort of 7 or 8 years ago is now out the box, and it's now a standard feature set. Major incident management, a great example. If you're thinking about traditional stuff, it's all kind of there. You didn't have to go and build your own custom major incident management app. It's now a fully fledged product.
Oh God,
So
I did a custom app on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's sometimes understanding the capability that ServiceNow is now, and being able to articulate what the customer ask is and joining the dots. And there will be less development. I mean, there'll always be custom apps to build and things like that. But for the core product suites, there are so mature. You're not now going into, if you have more than 20 stories, if you have an incident management implementation, you have more than 20 stories to do customization, you've had the wrong conversations. You should be able to deliver most of that without the box capability. So it's advising the customers, well, this is how you use that capability. These are the plugins that you need to activate, because that will meet your requirement and deliver the outcome that you want. So I think, I think there will always be a place for people who need to develop, but the way the platform is going, it's more about understanding it and being able to advise customers on how to get the most out of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I interrupted you during your journey.
You did.
So you got as far as service desk.
No, that's right.
Segue us back into where we were then. You ruined the flow. You said we're
Well, so I mean, I guess from that part, as part of my development, I then do some more roles within kind of service desk and service operations. But the key thing was we had partners in IT. I'm allowed to say that because we all work for partners in IT at some point. I think I've got a pound somewhere to put in your fictional jar.
You can say any partners. We have a pound in the jar, and we're on a few rounds at the minute. I think, James.
That's it. Christmas drinks. Yes.
But the retailer I was working with, they were looking at doing they were looking at moving on from their original solution, which was Remedy. So we were going out to tender to say, right, well, what are the ITSM solutions? And of course, they were looking at all the big players, IBM, Remedy again, HP Service Desk, Service Manager, all those kind of ones. And we were doing we were actually doing a ITSM maturity assessment with partners in IT at the time, and they just said, we've come across this ServiceNow platform that everybody seems to be dead excited about. You've got to have them as part of your collection. These people you've got to. So I was given the tap on the shoulder to say, right, you've had all this experience in service management. I was ITIL certified and stuff like that. I'd recently just done Prince 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of, and they said, right, we feel like you're the good person to project manage this. So, nothing, so not technical, yes. Project manage. Mm. So that typical tap on the shoulder. So I was getting all the vendors together and organizing, demo sessions for the vendors, and ServiceNow was the last one. And honestly, towards the end, there was all like all the key stakeholders were in every one of these sessions. And by the fourth or fifth one, they were done. They were like, we cannot see any more ITSM. Yeah. This is just like the most dullest, brain draining thing. And then we had the demo of ServiceNow, and I think the key thing is that so everyone was watching it and they were kind of, okay, yeah, this is interesting. This is interesting. And then one of the change managers said, oh, is there a way to clone a change? Do you do that out of the box? And they said, no, it's not available out of the box. So they were there scribbling away, right? Because that was one of the features they had in their bespoke Remedy solution. And anyway, so they carried on the presentation, and then after about 5 minutes, one of the technical consultant, Dave D'Agostino, if anyone knows, back in the day, one of the original kind of guys in the UK from ServiceNow, he just went, oh, stop a minute. He said, if you just refresh that page, I've just built that clone change capability. And we were going back where if we had a request to change something in Remedy, it was like a 2-month lead time to just add a field on a form or something like that, And they went, oh yeah, click on it, clone change, all the kind of stuff. And it was just like, from there, it was all like, right, there was going to be no other option than choosing kind of ServiceNow. Yeah. So then we went through the whole thing around planning it out. And again, I was PM, and we brought in partners in IT to help do the implementation. ServiceNow came in. That's where I know Dale Brown from. So Dale is now head of certifications. So he runs all the CTA and CMA kind of program. But he was the engagement manager / solution consultant. But I think he was more engagement manager. So we were doing that. But because of my programming background, I started tinkering. I started saying, oh, this would be good. And because the customer was the service desk and I'd come from service desk, I'd be going, oh, this is great if I had this feature. So I completely went off. It's modern day, you'd be getting your hand slapped saying, where's the requirement for that? But I was like, no, this would be great. So, and in the end, the guy who was program managing it, he kind of said, look, you're delivering great stuff. You just crack on. I'll manage the project on your behalf. We won't tell anybody. And this might be new news to some people who know where I came from, but I was just left with my own devices to work with this consultant from Partners in IT, Simon Kelly. I mentioned him because he's one of the reasons I got to Partners IT. But yeah, we worked together and we delivered that as an implementation. And then, of course, once I'd finished that, in traditional words, I was a project manager. It was like, okay, ServiceNow, we've done that implementation. Do you want to go and move some servers between this data center and this data center? And I was like, not really. No thanks. Then I went and I went and joined Partners in IT as a consultant, and that's where it stemmed from.
Wow. And how long ago was that?
So I joined Partners
Taking dramatic pause, well,
in
Justin goes back to the
2012.
1970s.
Yeah, thanks. 2012. But
It was 62 years
yeah,
ago.
but one of the things I do want to mention, because I think the bits around career paths, when I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I got an apprenticeship with British Rail as an electrical engineer, and I did an apprenticeship. I then got made redundant from there, and then a friend of mine rung up because he knew it was my 21st birthday and said, I've got 2 weeks of just labouring work, just to give you some money for your 21st birthday. And I was there 7 years later, but I worked doing very manual work in a factory for 7 years. And I learned, just as we said, James, I learned some quite good life skills in being in that kind of environment and talking to different levels of people. And it was quite a nice size organization, because I used to play golf with the MD, and then I used to be going helping out, cleaning the toilets and stuff like that. I just wanted to be working. And I think that that attitude of just wanting to feel like you're doing something kind of has stayed with me throughout that kind of career.
Yeah, and I think, and that was actually one of the traits that I said about you last time, getting stuck in, didn't I? On that episode, getting stuck in and just happy to be part of the team and helping out. I'm conscious of time. We knew this was going to happen. In true meeting etiquette, I have a hard stop on the hour. Yes. I don't usually say that, but I have. Before we get into James's silly question and the alphabet game, are you ready for the alphabet game, by the way?
I'll tell you what, right? I knew the alphabet game was going to be on the agenda, but I've tried to do it the service it deserves, where I have not studied for it, because I don't think that's in the spirit of what everybody else has done. So I'm a little bit nervous that you're going to be screaming at me, and I'm going to be stuck on one of them, and you're going to be going,
I know, come on.
This guy's got all this experience, and he can't even think of that.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. We'll be trying to put you off throughout as well. So
and I have
there'll be curveballs, rule changes.
Yeah.
But before we get onto that, though, just because I am conscious of time, is there any advice that you give to anyone coming into the industry? I know you've just said around the whole career path and the going from manual labour. Is there anything that you'd pick out and just say, this is my top tip?
If you're presented with an opportunity, then go for it. You've got to grasp these you've got to grasp an opportunity with both hands, and it may not end up going where you expect it to go, but if you don't throw yourself into it, you will never ever know. Good.
So that's almost the same as say yes from the knowledge conference in the
Nice.
I like what ServiceNow's new.
I've liked what you've done there. I've liked. Say
yes to work.
Say yes to work. Say yes to an opportunity. I don't know. You've got to throw yourself into it, preferably with some passion behind it. As as you kindly said about me, I think that's what I've tried to do. I've just tried to make the most. And you don't know where it goes. I know full well when I started off on that service desk on first line, would I end up where I ended up? No, but that's because I was also presented with opportunities. It's not that, but I also like to think that I showed enough to earn the right to have those opportunities. And I think you also have to do
absolutely.
that. You can't expect people just to say, right, here's something. You've got to show willing. You've got to give people confidence that you're worthy.
Yeah.
So, I think we've come to the time, James. We'll now hand over to James in the section I like to call James's silly question.
Now, I'm not sure it is a silly question anymore, because it's actually not particularly silly, is it?
James's stupid
everyone
question.
knows the question by now anyway.
James's dumb question. James's idiotic question. I can keep going.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, Justin. So, James,
ignore me.
Until you find something he's offended by, or something like that, something that gets a reaction.
So Bill McDermott comes to you and says, "Hey, Justin, you're a technical director. I need you." And he says, "Okay, for the next release versions of ServiceNow post Z, I need you to come up with an overarching theme. We've gone with cities and regions for right now, but what do you come up with?"
God.
So far, some things that you can't go with is things like Pokemon,
Yeah.
sports franchises,
Yeah.
and aviation. Is what I
Aviation.
guess to come up with so
And-
far.
Can I just ask that before you say you divulge your answer, I want to write down what I think you'll say because I think I know what you're going to go with.
Oh, go on, do
Now,
it, do
now
it,
that
do it.
that would freak
Do it.
that would freak me out because I'll be honest,
Yeah.
I've got to think.
In true tech fashion, I have no pen, so I'll just write it down in my head and you'll have to believe me.
This would definitely freak me out. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know this about me. I don't know. I am fascinated by the universe. I am absolutely fascinated by all things. So it'd have to be something like galaxies or planets or something like that.
Galaxies,
Okay.
stars, that sort of thing.
Just
Constellations. that sort of thing.
every time you kind of look and you start and you just think, wow, how can we be the only ones? How can we? You see all the numbers and see all the figures, and you see the pictures from the new James Webb Telescope, and you're looking at that dot, and they're saying, yeah, but that's just the galaxy that's got like 100 million stars in it, and you're just like, I just can't. When you look at people like Brian Cox and they talk about this stuff, it's like, how do you know that stuff? How do you come to
Yeah.
terms with the size of it all? So there you go.
Have you?
Planets or galaxies?
So what would you do for A then? Would you go asteroid or Andromeda? What kind of? Where are we going?
I would go
route?
Andromeda. That's far more. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And Andromeda's a
I
far
lost
more
then.
kind. Go on.
I lost because I thought you were going to go golf courses.
Oh, well, that's a pretty good shout, though. Russ. That is a pretty.
You're rethinking.
That's a pretty good shout. Can I have a like?
No,
Can I have a? That is a yes. That is a good shout. That is a good shout. That'd be second probably if I'd have been But
Coming back onto the space thing though, there was a chat. I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson did. I think it might have been the Joe Rogan podcast. We're advertising people now, and they were talking about there is a potential. Please don't write in. Right, I'm just relaying this information that we're a simulation of a simulation. That they haven't disproved the fact that we're a simulation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is
Let's not
this
go
is
there.
the thing.
Maybe.
Are we just a molecule in some giant's eyeball or something like that? All that kind of all that kind of stuff that
we have a
you hear.
We'll have a spin-off podcast where we just talk random stuff. And we dispel the myth that the Earth is actually round because we all know it's flat. Do we alienating enough?
Let's not go there.
Oh yeah, you've got to alienate. That's a theme, isn't it? You've got to alienate somebody on the podcast.
Yeah, it is a theme. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's one.
And this is where my audio completely drops out. So enjoy the break from my dulcet tones, but fear not, James stuck around to see how Justin got on with the alphabet challenge.
Top of our leaderboard was our recent guest, Michael Kelly. So he managed to achieve a time of 5 minutes 24. I think what he did really well was he used his passes really well. So he didn't waste too much time on any particular letter where he knew he couldn't have something on the top of his head within a few seconds. So he actually beat, I think it was Lauren was the top, who was, I think, 6 minutes. So yeah, he beat that by 30 seconds. So 5 minutes 24 is the time we're aiming for.
No pressure. Can I ask as well? Yeah. Was it Lauren who said, "Well, if you passed on every one, and it only cost you 10 seconds"?
Yeah. She tried to throw out the whole game. She was. If that does happen, any more than 10 passes, then you get instant disqualification. Okay. 3, 2, 1, and go.
AI search. The benchmarks.
Oh, okay. Yep. No business rule.
I'm not going to say client script because that's the most common one. CSS.
Yep. Too boring.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The decision tables.
Very good. Very good.
E.
No.
Can't use previous version names, can you? No, that's one of the rules. Edge encryption.
No.
Edge encryption. Edge encryption.
Encryption. Very good.
Ooh. Do I get field type? That's got to be a nerdy one, surely. Field type. I'm not going to say glide record because that is just my favorite API glide system. GS. Hate.
Yeah.
Help log analytics. HLA.
Oh, very good.
I.
Haven't done enough distractions yet, Ross. We need to
instant scan.
instant scan. Very good.
It's Jexel. That's got to be a nerdy one. I've got to get bonus points for that.
That's pretty good.
Jexel expression.
That's pretty good. That's one in the nerd column.
God.
Yeah.
I don't want to say knowledge because that's like what about KPI? KPI. L. Low code. It's
No, you're
metric.
good.
No, if you said no, metric base. Oh, N.
We're good.
Notifications. OAuth.
Some very quick doc searches going
on. Predictive intelligence.
We'll know. Lovely.
It's got to quit. I'll pass on that. Pass.
Oh, one pass. First pass.
This one. Okay, robust transformer.
Oh, yeah.
Robust import set. Yeah. Studio. T. Tables and columns, my most used module ever in ServiceNow.
Yeah.
Tables and columns. Let's have a quick search on tables and columns. UI Builder.
Nice.
I love UI Builder. I'm enjoying your podcast, James. Your YouTube on UI Builder. Watching you build your app. Very good.
Oh, thank you. Yep.
The VTB, Visual Task Boards.
For a plug or promo.
Workspace. There's only I can't.
It's going well.
XML. It's got to be XML. I can't think of anything else other than.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm looking forward to this one. Yeah, I think we definitely need an answer, not a pass on this one because this is probably the most difficult one. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you'll allow Y-axis. Will you allow that on a chart? Y-axis on a report?
I mean, that could be on anything. You're accepting that? Okay.
It's a configurable element on a report.
Okay. I guess. All right. Okay. Oh, you got an extra point for that. Okay.
And only because I've been doing lots of stuff on AI search, so Zing search. Only because I've been.
Zing. Nice. Stop the clock.
I need to think about Q. I'm a bit disappointed I passed on Q though. I would be interested to know what other options you have for Y. There can't be many, surely. I feel like I've run at life. You do realise that now, don't you? I've actually gone through that feeling. I did far better than my expectations were. So I feel like I've won today. So thank you.
A moral victory.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so scores on the doors. So it all came down to whether your passes, your nerd points. So without your passes and nerd points, your time was 5 minutes 24. So bear in mind that's exactly the same time as what's top of the leaderboard.
Oh wow!
So with the nerd points and the pass, you ended up with 5 minutes 19.
Oh,
So you are now top of our leaderboard by 5 seconds.
I feel like my
down
life
to
is
your
complete.
Jexel and Y-axis.
Jexel expressions.
Yeah.
That goes back to one of the collaboration sessions we had when we talked about jelly and understanding jelly and going through all that stuff. That's where that stuff sticks in the mind from.
So yeah, thank you, Justin, for coming on and joining in and sharing your wisdom with everybody who watches and listens in. I think it's definitely inspirational, as I've already gone through, to hear about your journey as well. Obviously, some bits very, very similar to mine and Russ's in terms of service desk background, and I'm hearing a little bit about what you do at the moment, and it's been great to hear from you and see you again, of course. Hopefully you'll join us again in the next series, and maybe next time I won't wait so long to get you on. So I guess that leaves us for us to say, I've been James.
And I've been Russ.
I've been Justin.
And this is the Service Ducks.